Hey folks, welcome to another Broken Meeple Blitz review. Remember, if you like what you see or you want to talk about the game in more detail, please remember to leave a thumbs up and a comment in the video because I'd like to engage with you on a more personal level. And don't forget that if you want to help the channel in any way, then the Patreon campaign is always running. So we're looking at Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition. I'm a little late to this party, but I didn't get it on Kickstarter or anything because I wasn't exactly gunning for anything Terraforming Mars related because I don't exactly have a great relationship with the parent game. But when I was at Essen, I was able to grab a Kickstarter version of this, so I've got the improved components and such, and I figured couldn't hurt for me to do a Blitz review for this one just to see if this one improved on the Terraforming Mars formula for me. And well, let's just say it doesn't really need to improve much, but even so, that's just my own personal opinion. Terraforming Mars is not one of my favorite games. But this is essentially the same sort of thing, condensed down. You're still doing the same shtick of, alright, we got to get the oxygen level up, the temperature level up, flip the ocean tiles, and terraform Mars. So that is all the same, and you still have a ton of these cards. And I got to admit, I do like the fact you do get a ton of these cards. But you still basically playing these cards down, raise your production levels of money and plants and heat and minerals and whatever the star silver titanium I think it was, and various other bits and bobs. And so, you know, you're still trying to do all that. You've still got your cubes of multiple types to track everything on your board, and you're playing these cards trying to create combos and basically, you know, terraform Mars better than your opponents can. Where the difference is, though, is you don't draft cards in this game. You just draw them straight off the deck. But the way the turn sequence works is you have 5 phase cards that you play. Development, production, action, construction, and research. And the idea is that you choose one of these in secret, and you can't pick two at the same... You can't pick the same one twice in a row. And you go, you know what, today I'll want to produce. And I put that face down. The opponent also does this, and this is up to 4 players, I believe. Yes, up to 4. And they decide they want to research. Okay, and they go research. You all flip. They're the phases that you do this round, and you do them in order from 1 to 5. If you duplicate, then, oh well, sucks to be you, but if you're the one who played the card, you get the bonus on the bottom as well. So this might sound familiar. Oh yeah, it does. It's essentially Race for the Galaxy. Race for the Galaxy had the same thing. You had a bunch of phase cards like Explore and Build and Settle or whatever it was, and you played it face down, and you were trying to kind of get in your opponent's head and guess, ooh, what phase are you going to play this round? I reckon you're going to produce, in which case I don't need to produce. I'll instead play development and do this while you don't have the money to do it. It was a really cool system in Race for the Galaxy, and it does work well here. I like that, you know, it's probably my favorite aspect of Race. Race is one of those games where I don't own it. I would probably never want to teach it because of the iconography. Learning curve is insane, but I would play it at a max of 2 players because I think when you have too many players in Race for the Galaxy, you might as well just, you know, just assume that most of the phases are going to get played in a round. Not to mention the game goes on crazy long. And that was a slight worry I had going into this because I thought, okay, Terraforming Mars, the parent game, way too long, way too much randomness in some of the card drafting you get, takes like 2 to 3 hours, which is way too long for any drafting game, and some of the cards were just dead draws, basically. So, was I going to get the same stuff in here, and was I going to get the flaws of Race for the Galaxy in this as well? Well, let's talk about some positives first. Component quality, if you get the Kickstarter version, a lot better. The tiles are decent, you've got a decent border, you've still got these cubes, which to be fair are better cut than the previous ones, but still you've got these cubes everywhere. But the main thing is that the card quality is a lot better, the artwork is 100 times better on these things. I mean, man, the artwork on these cards sucked in Terraforming Mars. Well, actually, what artwork? Most of it was screen caps. But best of all, recess board. I don't know if you get these in a retail one, I don't think you do, but just having a recess board so that you can put a cube on it and not have it fall off everywhere. Same for the ones where you track production, you know, you basically just slide the cube through this kind of zigzaggy production line. These are a must-have. I'm so glad they're in this game. It makes life a lot better, and these badly needed to be in the base set of Terraforming Mars, not as an addition or a pimp upgrade. But there are some superfluous components in here for plenty. I mean, victory point tile tokens for the forest seems a little bit redundant, really. These 5 tracker tiles that you use in order to track the phases, completely redundant because frankly, you can see the cards that are on the table, so if you can't remember which phases are happening, then you probably shouldn't be playing this game. It's not difficult to track what phases are in operation, particularly if some get duplicated. So the idea of having to constantly go, right, hang on, this round we're doing this, this, and this, and then this round we're doing that, and then this, that just takes time. It's a fiddly and annoying, and I don't use them. So screw those, they're rubbish. But everything else here is pretty decent, actually. I mean, the rulebook is clear to understand and read. Where's the rulebook? I think I've punked it somewhere. Oh, there it is. Rulebook, decent size, linen finish, very easy to read, very easy to understand. One or two rules that are slightly hidden in there, but for the most part, very easy to pick up. You can also play this in a 2-player co-op mode or solo rules, although, well, I'll get onto the solo in a bit. First of all, let's talk about the multiplayer. Multiplayer for this, unfortunately, falls for one big issue, and unfortunately, it's the same thing that Race for the Galaxy had. I don't want to play Race for the Galaxy with more than 2. I don't want to play this with more than 2. Firstly, the whole idea of choosing the phases is so much better when there's only 2 of you, because you really have to think what your opponent is doing. When you have 4 of you doing it, most of the phases get played, it's very random, it's just, I don't know. It doesn't seem quite as tactical in a 4-player game. But the main reason I don't like this with more than 2 is because the one thing I was hoping that this would fix over Terraforming Mars, which was to make the game a lot shorter, is completely thrown out the window when you have 3 or 4 players. Yes, it's shorter than Terraforming Mars, but then walking from Land's End to John O'Groats in Scotland is shorter than Terraforming Mars. It's like ridiculous for what it is. This is still too long for what it is, though. I mean, every round is fairly quick in terms of the round, but AP players can really slow this game down if they're thinking about what cards to play or what phase to do. And you've got the fiddly stuff with like, alright, I've played this card, so let me just adjust my track here and flip this phase token here. But the rounds are so endless and it's rinse repeat throughout. You are constantly playing round after round after round. I've lost count of how many rounds a typical game has, and like an hour and a half later with 3 or 4 players, and you might not even be more than halfway up these tracks. It's just too long. You know, it's like it's not like Terraforming Mars parent game length, but it's still way too long for me to enjoy this game, because once I've done, right, okay, I've done development phase, I'll do development, here we go. Right, my turn is literally bum, long, done. There you go, there's my turn. Why it seems to take everybody else about 100 years to do their turn is beyond me, but my turn is done within about 5 seconds. The rounds don't last 5 seconds. So there's a long time when you're sort of sitting there going, right, I've done my card. Nope, alright, I'll draw 2 for the research. No, that one's rubbish. And that one, right, done. Oh, are you still waiting for you to hurry up and choose your cards? Come on, come on, come on. And I just end up like just wanting to get on with it. It's like, get on with it. Let's get on to the next phase. So, you know, for this sort of game, which is simpler than Terraforming Mars, I want this to take no more than an hour. Tops, like completely no more than an hour, and it says 60 minutes on the box, and that is an outright lie unless you are playing this with 2 players or solo. Solo, you can get this done pretty quick, 30-45 minutes. 2-player can be 60 minutes. That's fine. 3 and 4 player though, longer, way longer, particularly with 4. Some people have even been on BGG saying, will there ever be a 5th player? I cannot imagine how crazy you have to be, or high on mushrooms or something, in order to want this to be a 5-player game. That's just ridiculous, because here's the other problem. This game's mostly multiplayer solitaire. Yeah, other than the choosing of the phases, there's no reason for your opponents to be on the table, because there's next to nothing. In fact, I'm not even aware if there's any cards in here that influence opponents. If there are, there's very few of them, way less than in the parent game. So me doing my tableau down here has no effect on everybody else. You might be raising the temperature in that, big whoop. You could substitute that with any form of AI mechanic. So I'm doing all these things here. Yes, I want to know what phase you're playing, but that's literally your only purpose for being in the game. And I can get the main enjoyment of choosing the phases with 2 players. 3rd and 4th makes no difference. 4-player, honestly, this game is a waste of space with 4 players. I can think of a million games I'd rather play with 4 players than this one. So you've already got, you know, I mean, even the parent game had more interaction than this one does. And Terraforming Mars doesn't have a massive amount of player interaction. Oh, you beat me to my score tile, whoop-de-doo. And there's a couple of cards that might dick over other opponents, but even then I feel like I'm just doing my own game in that one. But here, God blimey, it's even more multiplayer Solitaire. So, okay, 2-player max. What about the solo mode, though? Oi, oi, oi. Solo mode. It's fine. I get some enjoyment out of it because I can play the turns nice and quick, so at least I can get the fun aspect of this game done. The problem is that the difficulty level is complete lottery luckfest. You basically have to terraform Mars by the time 25 rounds are up, okay? And you have the phases, and a dummy phase deck is there, and you basically choose a phase, and then a random one comes off the top. Getting all that terraformed in 25 rounds is insanely hard. 3/4 of this deck is dead draws, because most of the cards in here are about building an infrastructure and having a bit of fun with the cards and that. None of those cards are useful in a game when you're trying to speed run through the free terraform things. You have to basically play the game the same way every time. I need a bucket load of plant and heat production, or I need a crap ton of MC production, so that when I do the standard projects I can basically churn a bunch of those out. But ideally you want all three. Whatever about titanium, whatever about the mineral one, whatever about card production. At the end of the day, if I'm not flipping over ocean tiles or getting enough heat and plant production, you will not physically be able to terraform Mars. So you better hope you draw the right cards. The problem is, you don't draft in this game. So you're just drawing off a deck randomly. So I play research and go, right, I'm going to do research, draw an additional, let's draw 5 cards and keep 2, alright? Hope I got something good. Cost 40, can't play it. When you play a science tag, draw a card, whoopie-doo. Oh, there's heat production, fine. Let's see, requires that temperature or higher, can't play it. Alright, can't play it. That's not useful for me. But 2 titanium, again, doesn't matter. There's so many cards in this deck that are just useless to you in solo mode. So you could basically choose a corp and draw completely bad, and you have no chance of winning. It's not necessarily punishing, but it just feels frustrating where you feel like, oh, I didn't quite get there, and it was nothing really to do with your tactical choices, you just didn't draw the cards. I mean, you can say, oh, I'm an expert at terraforming Mars and Ares Expedition, but if you draw rubbish cards, you will not win the solo mode. Full stop. Doesn't matter how good you claim to be. So, even the solo mode just feels like a bit of a letdown. I get the fun mechanics done, but then you lose the fun aspect of the phase selection because I'm basically luck predicting what a dummy deck will do. So really, solo mode loses the fun from a 2-player game, but then makes me play the game quicker, but then also gives me the luck fest of the solo dummy player and trying to do these 3 objectives, whereas at least with the 2-player I'm at least gunning against an opponent and I get to play some more interesting cards. So there's not a lot this game's really offering me. Would I play this over Terraforming Mars? Yes, but that's like saying, Luke, you didn't like this jar of pickles with licorice in it. Would you like just the licorice by itself? Yeah, both taste horrible. I don't care either way. So yes, I'm definitely not going to play the big Terraforming Mars ever again because it's way, way too long. But then I'm only going to play this with 2-player and maybe occasionally solo if I feel like it. And I'm never going to play this 2-player often. I've got other games I want to play 2-player. So this game really just has no purpose being on my game shelf. So yeah, this was a bit of a letdown. I mean, I wasn't exactly putting too much hope into it. Like, oh, this will be the best thing since sliced bread. But I kind of hoped this would be a decent improvement over Terraforming Mars. And instead it's just a bit of an improvement over Terraforming Mars. So, not a bad game. Not a bad game. I consider Terraforming Mars to be a bad game on my scales, but this one is still, I don't know. I don't even know if I could call this average. I honestly just don't see a purpose of this. I won't play this at 3 or 4 players, so there's half the player count's gone. Solo is a complete lottery, so I won't really care too much about that. So that leaves 2-player. And as a 2-player game, I think this is pretty solid, but that's not enough for me. The components are decent, yeah, but there's no real major theme either. The longevity, there's quite a lot of decent amount of cards, which is fairly good. The duration is still a bit long, but it is easy to play, so I gotta give it some props in those departments, as much as I think the gameplay is that. So I was gonna give it a 4. I'm gonna give it a bit more generous than that and give it a 5. Average. Average game for me. Decent enough if I play it at 2-player, but otherwise I'm not that fussed. But I do have to give props that the component quality is a lot better. Although, bearing in mind, this is 5 out of 10 for the Kickstarter version. If you've got the retail version, that cheap one where you don't get recessed boards and the cards aren't a great quality, I'd probably stick this down to a 4 out of 10. Because if you lose some of that aspect, then what else am I left with? So, yeah, bit of a disappointment for me. Maybe this is your thing. There's people out there who love the original and there's people out there who love this one. So, you know, pick your poison really. But I personally prefer this one, but basically, if it's got Terraforming Mars on the cover, it's just not a game for me, it seems. Oh well, there's other games out there. So that's it for me on this video. If you like what you see, or if you just want to talk more about the game, then please leave a like and comment on the video and on the product itself. It means a lot to me to know that you appreciate the content, but also I'd like to hear your thoughts on this. Do you prefer this? Do you prefer the daddy? Or do you agree with the thoughts? Like I say, let me know. I want to talk with you guys. So I'll see you on the next Broken Meeple video, and if you want to check out more content on this channel, you can check out the Blitz review I did for Dune House Secrets from Portal Games, or you can check out the remainder of my top 100, which is going swimmingly with my 20 to 11, or maybe if you're lucky, I'll have my 10 through 1 by this point. We'll see. Anyway, take care, and remember as always, love or hate Terraforming Mars, it's only a game. Bye for now.